Let's begin our bulletin. I'm Nancy Kachingira and Maresha Owiti is our sign language interpreter. President Uhuru Kenyatta visited the Kenyatta National Hospital to commiserate with survivors of the Dawn terror attack in Mandera. 14 people were killed and 10 others injured when al-Shaabab militants stormed an estate in Mandera, hurling grenades and shooting indiscriminately. Ian Wafula has the details.
In the wee hours of Tuesday morning, residents of Sokombuzi in Mandera County, majority of them non-locals, were in slumberland when al-Shaabab militia stormed the estate. They blew up the gate before storming in. It is also reported that the group planted grenades outside the houses to target those who tried to escape. But it later occurred to the attackers that most of the people were asleep in tents outside, a way to overcome the hot weather. It was then that County Commissioner Alex Nkoyo says al-Shaabab hurled grenades at the tents before shooting indiscriminately. 14 people died and 10 others injured, but the government says it could have been worse.
The intention of the heinous murderers was to take siege of the quarters with the aim of executing 150 residents of the estate. Immediately after the IED's explosion, police on patrol swung into action and engaged the attackers.
The attackers are believed to have gone into hiding in the nearby bushes, and residents were urged to report on any suspicious persons with injuries seeking treatment. At the Kenyatta National Hospital, emergency rescue units wasted no time after they received the 8 victims who had been airlifted from Mandera, 2 of them in critical condition.
The same support that was required was maintained in the ambulances, and they've all been safely brought into Kenyatta National Hospital. No fatalities during the evacuation, and most of the patients now are currently stable, and they'll undergo the further management that they require at the hospital. By
the time they got to the hospital, only a few of them had been in contact with their families. The Kenya Red Cross Society, however, said that they would ensure the details of the victims would get to the necessary authorities. Even as the victims of today's morning attack are received here at the Kenyatta National Hospital safely, back in Mandera, tension is high among the non-locals who are now asking the government to evacuate them for fear of their security. So terrified and traumatized they were that they opted to take refuge at the Mandera police station. In groups, they still narrated their near-death ordeal.
Alafu mahali nilikuwa najificha, naona naamulika hivi na tochi, wakirudi pande yangu Mungu anasaidia, wanakijua pande nyingine. Hata mimi nikapata bahati hapo.
Now, they want the government to facilitate their relocation from Mandera, but the government had this to say.
That al-Shaabab and its collaborators are determined to disrupt and subvert our way of life. I take this opportunity to reiterate that Kenya shall never be cowed by these evil murderers. Our resolve to vanquish them remained resolute.
In December last year, al-Shaabab militants killed 36 non-local quarry workers in Mandera. The attack on the quarry workers also took place at night when the victims were sleeping in their tents in Koromei, just about 15 kilometers from Mandera town. Ian Wafula, KTN.
Once again, the nation awoke to devastating news from Mandera County. But let's go to our city centre studio now, where security analyst Andrew Franklin is joining us. Thank you for making time this evening, Andrew. Just to get your thoughts on this latest attack. Was this a random attack, or do you think there was a very deliberate and intentional planning around the timing of it?
Well, first of all, this is not a random attack. It is a deliberate attack, even if it were not timed to occur in close proximity to President Obama's visit. Al-Shaabab has been steadily increasing and ramping up its operations in Mandera and elsewhere ever since the government of Kenya and the United States announced the actual dates for the Obama visit, that is July 25th and 26th. This was a well-planned attack. The attackers knew who they wanted to kill, they knew where they were staying, and they executed it during Ramadan, of course, but these were all Christians who obviously were sleeping because they're not affected by Ramadan. So the fact that the attackers got away scot-free indicates that they had rehearsed. They knew which way to go, and they accomplished their mission.
So you're talking about this timing being very deliberate. What do you think they're hoping to achieve?
Well, al-Shabaab is achieving its objective of demonstrating how the government of Kenya has very little control over areas along the border with Somalia, that is, in particular within the 4 frontline counties of Mandera, Garissa, Wajir, and Lamu. Their ultimate objective is to derail the Obama visit, possibly by executing terrorist attacks in and around Nairobi during the next 2 weeks.
Right, and you're talking about them having achieved this, but is there any way that at this point the government can respond in a way that will perhaps deny them that final satisfaction that they're looking for?
Yes, absolutely. The fact is that the government of Kenya can defeat al-Shabaab within this country in 3 to 5 years. More immediate, in the immediate, in close proximity with this attack, the government of Kenya needs to reinforce the border with mobile units from the Kenya Defense Forces and, as much as possible, with administration police. We are not doing the aggressive patrolling we should be doing to disrupt al-Shabaab plans and preparations. It's quite obvious that during the months when the 4 or 5 front counties were under curfew, that al-Shabaab was able to marshal its troops, organize itself, occupy villages, occupy mosques, terrorize communities, and ultimately launch an attack on the KDF base at Bore in Lamu County. All of these attacks, all of these terrorist incursions were done during the curfew hours, apparently without any hindrance by the government of Kenya's security forces.
So when you say that we're not doing enough, what more should we be doing?
Well, I think we should find out where the KDF are, who have in the past been sent to reinforce the police in certain areas in the north. We should be, in fact, using our air assets. For example, the Cessna owned by the Kenya Forest Service, which is equipped with heat-seeking and thermal imaging equipment. We need to be running a lot of air operations along our border. I think we also need to start coordinating with AMISOM in Sector 2 and also AMISOM in Sector 3 to start denying the al-Shabaab access to the areas along our border from their positions in Somalia.
Right, and are we learning the lessons that we should be learning in terms of our responses as a country? The government saying, well, this attack could have been a lot worse. Do you agree with that assessment?
Well, I think it's cold comfort to claim a success when you have 11, 12, 14 people killed and a number who are wounded, to simply say, well, they were planning to kill 150, but they didn't manage to do that. I don't think that our responses are adequate by any means. And I think we can do a lot better. We do have good troops. We have good officers. We have good police, particularly in the middle and lower ranks. I think we need leadership. And we're not doing enough, and I think it's also dangerous to start claiming success just because al-Shabaab did not kill enough people last night. That doesn't make any sense to me.
All right. Well, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us. That was Andrew Franklin at our City Centre studio. He is a security analyst. A nation still unbowed, no matter what the circumstances. Now, for the second time in 6 months, the attack in Mandera has left a village in Nyeri County in mourning. 6 of those who perished in the attack this morning were quarry workers from Kieni in Nyeri County. KTN senior reporter Carol Derry spoke to the bereaved families.
When news filtered in that al-Shabaab gunmen had killed yet another group of quarry workers in Mandera, residents of Gadhaide in Kieni East of Nyeri County had their hearts in their mouths. Moments later, they confirmed their worst fears. 6 of those killed in Mandera in the wee hours were from their locality, 5 from Gadhaide village and 1 from Chaka. Charles Masharia, Samuel Kenywa, Zachary Wambugu, Charles Njiri, Joseph Wahome and Peter Waroe had moved to Mandera a few months ago to seek work as quarry workers.
Nika brother yetu ametuacha, so tulipata asubuhi kitu kaa 5 na simu.
Nikaambiwa ati Mandera kumepigwa na nikaambiwa ati mtoto wangu ni mmoja wa wale wamekufa.
Walipigwa na hao watu wa al-Shaabab huko Mandera, na ndio tunaenda round kama security team tukiwapea pole.
Magdalene Wanjiro is mourning the loss of her only son, 39-year-old Charles Njiri.
Nasikia ati huyo mtoto wangu amewaga dunia. Sasa nifanye nini? Sina mwingine kijana, siniyo tu mimi kona. Sina maneno mengine.
What pains her the most is that her son, her only son, had not offended anyone and was not a criminal. He died while fending for his family.
Siwezi kuwasemehea kwa sababu mtoto wangu si mwizi. Siwezi kuwasemehea wao, lakini nataka Mungu awaone wakienda kuwa mtu bila ana makosa, si mwizi, anamkuta tu kwa nyumba akamuua. Na siwezi kumsemehea huyo.
Of the 6 killed from Kieni, the eldest was 39 years old and the youngest just 27 years old. They had heard of better prospects in Mandera, where one would earn about 30 shillings per foot of the building stones excavated, compared to the 8 shillings they earned for the same in the Kieni quarries. This is the same fate that befell 14 others from Kieni in Mandera just 6 months ago by the al-Shaabab. Family members of those killed Tuesday morning said they had tried to dissuade them from working in Mandera.
Tunawashauri lakini vile kazi imekosekana hapa na tuko na vijana wengi wamesoma, kazi hakuna, wanakaa wakiwa desperate. Sasa wakisikia huko wanapewa pesa mzuri wakaona wakajitafutia. Sasa hawatuambii wakienda, wakifika huko ndio mtu anapiga simu anasema niko Mandera.
James Mwangi says he missed death by a whisker. His travel plans to Mandera, where he works as a quarry worker, did not materialize. Those who died were his colleagues.
Saa 9 usiku nilipigiwa simu. Nikaambiwa marafiki zangu wote wameuawa. Wale tunalalaga nyumba moja na wao.
Mwangi says security had been heightened since the last attack on quarry workers in December last year.
Security wao wanasuguka kila dakika. Kila dakika wanasuguka kujua kuna magadi na wako na mabuduki. Sasa sijui jana vile walikosa kuingia piga loud. Wanakujaga kila dakika.
Deputy County Commissioner James Chacha said the bereaved families would receive support to bury their loved ones.
Vile tunatembea tunajaribu kuuliza jamii ni usaidizi gani wanaweza kuhitaji kutoka kwa serikali ili waweze kusaidiwa, na pia kuweza kujua vile mambo ya matanga kuwa organized.
Of those killed in Mandera, 6 are from Nyeri County, bringing to total 22 those who have died in Mandera and are from Nyeri County. And the question that begged not just from residents of Nyeri County but the larger country is, for how long shall they continue to shed tears over cases of insecurity in the country? Carol Derry, KTN, Nyeri County.
Our thoughts and prayers are, of course, with all those who lost loved ones. Away from that, though, the Gatundu South Member of Parliament has kicked up yet another storm with his utterances. A video has surfaced on social media of Moses Kuria addressing youth and appearing to be telling them to use their machetes to slash any person critical of the National Youth Service. Betty Kialo has that story.
Nakira igire mwabe mukana mafaka manyu mafaka utoma gutugutatu nmaigua muruto ucio ri ukaba mugase ha mukarekerio go kana tuyo twake.
Comments that have stirred anger and criticism from Kenyans around the country and on social media. In the video, whose context we cannot verify, Kuria is heard asking the youth who are holding machetes to use them in chopping anyone who is against the National Youth Service. Kuria goes on to say that the NYS recruits in Gatundu South are his militia and that they can use the machetes at their own free will.
Ule mtu wa vita Dawidi alisema ati nyinyi sijui ni militia ya Jubilee. Hapa Gatoro nyinyi ni militia yangu, mimi sitaki ujinga, nimewapatia mapaga kata mtu kama mtataka.
His comments have irked many Kenyans, most of them demanding that he steps down, accusing him of having contravened Chapter 6 of the Constitution on leadership and integrity. Many have termed his remarks as reckless and not characteristic of a leader. However, this is not the first time Kuria's tongue has landed him in trouble. Earlier this year, he issued an apology over hate speech remarks made on his Facebook page attributing terrorism to certain communities. A few weeks later, after this incident, Kuria took to the social site again to negatively target communities that don't practice male circumcision. During the rally, he boasted of connections in government, saying that he has a listening ear from influential individuals.
Serikali yote hakuna mtu ambaye hakuwa rafiki yangu kutoka zamani. Kwa hivyo nagethie kule ndirathi oge thirikari tu. Ndirathi tu ni arata akwa. Na gutiri wabizi ona mwezi ya gari gahigero.
Betty Kyalo, KTN.
The Big Q, in association with Fidelity Insurance.
Kuria under fire. That's our hashtag tonight, and also that story is our point of interaction with you. We'd like you to add your voice to this conversation and tell us whether you think that Moses Kuria should resign as MP over those controversial remarks. Obviously rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, and surely a leader should not be speaking this way. A lot of people are saying that. Well, you go ahead and let us know what you think. The question is, should Moses Kuria resign as MP over his controversial remarks? And you can share your thoughts with us this evening by tweeting us at KTN News KE and at Kachingira, or you can send an SMS to 22155. Don't forget to start with a yes or no so that we can give you a poll result towards the end of the bulletin.
Our DNA matches our new attitude to make positive change to your lives with everything we do. Welcome to Fidelity Insurance. Insurance you can trust.
And as we look forward to hearing from you, let's turn to matters about the environment. Environmental degradation is threatening the manufacturer of one of Kenya's largest export earners. The survival of Lake Magadi in Kajiado, which produces soda ash, is at risk due to siltation occasioned by deforestation in areas of Narok County. Going up to over 4 feet high, the silt has taken over 10 square kilometers of the lake.
Covering an estimated 162 square kilometers, Lake Magadi in Kajiado County has for decades not only provided a nesting ground for flamingos, it has produced one of Kenya's largest export earners, soda ash, a product used in the manufacture of glass, detergent, paper and leather tanning. In 2005, the lake suffered the first effects of siltation due to deforestation, poor farming practices and overgrazing hundreds of kilometers away in Narok County. 10 years later, the situation is going from bad to worse.
The river called Kisamis that used to take some service runoff to a place called Odorko have now been merged together with a river called Enkejuaros. And they're now all that flows from those rivers are now flowing to Lake Magadi.
We notice that deposition is taking place at the rate of 8,000 tons per hour. At that pace, it's only a few years before the entire lake is lost.
The silt lying 4 feet above the surface of the lake has covered 10 square kilometers of the 152 square kilometers mineable section of the lake. And Tata Chemicals Magadi, which produces the soda ash, says the mining is now at risk.
The siltation is now just shy of reaching the locations where we are doing our dredging. And as soon as the siltation level resides in our dredging equipment, then we will not be able to continue dredging. And that means essentially that all the components of the lake which have got siltation may not be usable for raw material excavation.
Tata Chemicals Magadi has been undertaking several initiatives to try and reduce the siltation, but says its campaign for reforestation, good farming practices, building of dikes, dams and gabions upstream will need the support of both the national and county governments.
As a matter of fact, I would just be short of saying this is a national disaster.
Tata Chemicals Magadi services the water used by the local community and runs the local level 4 hospital. With the mining now at risk due to siltation, the survival of the company is threatened and stakeholders stand to lose.
The government will have something to lose in way of taxes and royalties. The community would have losses in way of CSR and the benefits that come along with it. As you know, we sponsor schools, we sponsor hospitals, transport facilities, and sometimes participate in building infrastructure. And all these benefits would be lost to the community. In addition to that, of course, our employees will lose their careers.
If we lose it, that means that not even Kenya will only be affected, but the world in general, because our product, that is soda ash, is actually being consumed globally.
Tata Chemicals Magadi is Africa's largest soda ash manufacturer and has been producing soda ash for the past century. But now, with the effects of environmental degradation hundreds of kilometers away being directly felt here, the company's survival is at risk. Rita Tinina, KTN.
Dire situation for Lake Magadi. Something certainly needs to be done, and a lot of people also think something needs to be done about Moses Kuria. Kuria under fire, that's our hashtag tonight. Let me read you a few tweets. There's one here from Nemesis. You say, he should not resign, but rather he should be jailed. This is not where we want to be as a country. And there's another one here from Charles Opil. You say, it's time someone takes him to hospital for therapy. This is not right. Paul Mwani, you say yes, he should resign, but in Kenya to resign is impossible and unacceptable from the politicians, especially elected. And Zaka Kamau, you say Kuria wasn't elected but selected. He's not honorable and must resign. One here from Brian Kipchumba, you say Moses Kuria should be prosecuted over his remarks. There is an... okay, I won't read the rest of that. It's rather insulting. But Augustine Olanga, you say, yes, he should resign like yesterday. If not now, Kenya has no room for hate speech mongers. Go ahead and share your feedback. Kuria Under Fire is our hashtag on Twitter, or you can send an SMS to 22155. I'll be looking at a few of those later on in the bulletin. We'll take a quick break. KTN Prime will be right back after this. Welcome back to KTN Prime. Thank you for staying with us. Now let's do a follow-up on that alcohol crackdown. Keroche Brewery's CEO Tabitha Karanja has decried what she calls the targeting of Keroche products in the ongoing raids on illegal alcoholic brands. An emotional Karanja said that the pattern being seen now is the same as what Keroche was subjected to back in 2003.
Why is Keroche Breweries, a company that was built from scratch, single-handedly by the efforts of a local woman from Naivasha, who has consistently plowed back of her or her proceeds into the company for the last 18 years, being targeted? Keroche Breweries has been on the forefront of fighting illicit brews. For the past 18 years, Keroche Breweries has built strong alcoholic brands that cater for the needs of all Kenyans.
Well, related to that, let's go to the North Rift region and check up on what's going on with the alcohol raids. Mercy Kandier is our reporter there. Mercy, what's been happening so far?
Yes, Nancy, the final day of the President's directive, and so far over 80 have been arrested and arraigned in court for being drunk and disorderly, 40 others for operating without a license. So joining us again live here in Eldoret is the Director of the County Alcoholic Drinks Control Board, Armstrong Rono. Thank you for joining us tonight. What's been happening so far, considering that we have also received complaints in terms of the bar owners saying that yes, it's a good move, yes, but it should be controlled from the source. And also that the brands that they have a KEBS license on it.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think those concerns have reached us. And true, I think there's a need for the manufacturers to also ensure that their products are not counterfeited. Because you'll find that there's a lot of counterfeit. And it becomes a problem to us in the field to know whether these are actually genuine brands or or fake brands, you know. But we've tried our best, even though some of the second generation that we've actually confiscated have the labels of KEBS. So it becomes very difficult for us to actually tell whether they are counterfeit or they are real. So there is a need also for KEBS and anti-counterfeit agency to work closely with us on the ground so that we are able to identify some of these unscrupulous business people. Yes.
In speaking of unscrupulous people, part of the, again, residents from the villages especially uploading what you're doing, but they're saying that it's a town event, that the villagers have illicit brew and your team is not reaching to, you know, what they call mashinani, the villagers, and also universities and other places that also are at risk of consuming this adulterated alcohol.
Thank you. When you talk about universities, I think Wasingishu is a very good example that we've undertaken. We have not licensed a single business premise that is selling alcohol or liquor near universities. We have taken that initiative. I think it is the first one in the country. And moving forward, you'll see us cracking down on some of these pubs that are near universities, and that one you'll see it coming. We have already done that today. And on the issue of mashinani, we personally I've just arrived. I'm from Soy, and we've done a lot of work. We started in Mashambani, and I think it's because, of course, town, there's a lot of media attention, but we are all over. We are in all sub-counties, and we're going to continue. And as I said the other day, is that our crackdowns did not start the other day. We started almost 2 months ago, and we'll continue. And what we also need, of course, is a holistic approach towards the issue of alcohol and drug abuse. As an expert in the field, there's no single silver bullet for drug abuse. We need other interventions, such as public education. We need to treatment and rehabilitation for those who are suffering from addiction. We also need we need to educate our young people. We also need to rehabilitate the brewers. So all those interventions, we need to do them. We need a holistic approach to this problem if you are to succeed. And the problem of drug abuse is long term. We cannot finish it within 4 days. We have to do it. It's painstaking, but we have to do it. And we have resolved that we are determined actually to ensure that we have a sober county.
All the best in having a sober county. So there you have it, Nancy. Update from the North Red. Back to you in studio. Nancy.
All right, thank you very much, Mercy, for that update. You're watching KTN Prime. We take a quick break. On the other end is business. Stay with us. Welcome back to KTN Prime. Just before we take you to business, some of the dramatic events of the day. The grilling of Devolution and Planning Cabinet Secretary Anne Waiguru did degenerate into a shouting match today between MPs from the two sides of the political divide. The legislators hurled insults at each other, with CORD members keen to grill Waiguru over the National Youth Service scandal, as those from Jubilee animatedly defended her. Ben Katili has the drama that seemed to overshadow the actual reason Waiguru showed up.
The person next to you should be a ranking member of the Labour Committee, so that we don't go around in circles on this matter.
Trouble began when some members of the Labour Committee of the National Assembly questioned whether the Finance Committee should handle the NYS issue. But things quickly escalated when Ugunja Member of Parliament Opio Wandai started questioning the Devolution Secretary over usage of funds at the National Youth Service.
Chair, what has stopped the CS from causing persons associated with this process to step aside pending these investigations?
The role of the accounting officer in procurement is therefore administrative and is limited to ensuring that all procurement is conducted in accordance with the law and the regulations.
Waiguru defended herself, insisting that no shilling was lost as the government financial system, IFMIS, was secure enough.
All procurement issues, Honorable Chair and members, are dealt with strictly in line with all the procurement laws and procedures, and in addition, the National Youth Service has strong internal systems of control to safeguard and protect taxpayers' resources.
A group of MPs calling themselves Friends of the Finance Committee, who are largely drawn from the Jubilee coalition, then sought to disrupt the grilling session.
Order, Onyonga. Order, Onyonga. Order. I am here as a member the way you are. In fact, you are nominated. Mr. Chairman, order members. Order members. You have no mandate. Order members. Relax. Don't go there. Don't go there. Don't go there. Order, Richard Onyonga. Order members. Order members. Please.
Curriculum of the NYS, which I raised. No, relax. She will say yes.
Order members. I also want members to relax. Just relax a bit.
As the Jubilee legislators took sides on the issue, Kisumu Central MP Ken Obura surprisingly joined in. Obura also had an argument with his ODM colleague Wandai.
Actually, relax, Chair. Order members, let's listen to member for the Thank you, Chair. We should sit on the other side. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Order members. Is irrelevant. Order, Jimmy. Order. Relax, Chair. Team. Relax. Chair, I want to confirm to you. Yeah. That very few people can intimidate me, and I'm happy that none of them is in this room. Order. Now, Chair, it is wrong to allege that the youths who went to demonstrate in Kisumu were paid, that they were actually NYS recruits, and I thank my colleague, Henry Bandai, who is representing Order, Wandai. No. Wandai, order. May I have Alice? May I have? Order members. Let's go on. Alice. Member for Kandara. Member for Kandara, yes.
A very quick one. I also want to commend, Chairman, I also want to commend the CS. I have National Youth Service in Kandara. This program no longer belongs to the ministry, to CS. The program belongs to National Youth Service. It belongs to the community.
Order members.
The Ogunja MP was forced to leave the session prematurely as the Jubilee MP sarcastically cheered him on. As the matter at hand was left largely unattended, Waiguru has been on the spot of an alleged fraud attempt at the NYS, for which the opposition has demanded that she step aside. Ben Kitili, KTN.
And a warm welcome to KTN Business. My name is Abi Agina. For the second time in 2 months, the central bank has come to the defense of the struggling shilling. The bank's monetary policy committee has raised the benchmark central bank rate from 10% to 11.5%. In a statement sent to newsrooms, the bank based its decision on the continued weakening of the shilling. The local unit has depreciated 10% since January, primarily owing to the rapid strengthening of the US dollar. Meanwhile, the MPC has introduced a 3-day repurchase agreement to supplement the instruments for liquidity management. The bank has been using the repo to mop up excess liquidity in the market. CBK has also been selling dollars directly to commercial banks to dampen volatility, which has seen the usable foreign reserves fall from 4.64 months cover in January to 4.2 months of this month. The rate hike will also hit borrowers who will have to pay higher interest rates going forward. The bank also revised the Kenya Bank's reference rate, KBRR, to 9.87%.
Homeowners, people who have mortgages, it affects businesses who require money to sustain their operations. There are a lot of property developments actually that were affected when interest rates went up in 2011, because borrowers or these property developments, they require financing, and financing is what helps them either buy the land, put up the property, then sell and make money. So whereas I'm talking about, whereas I may mention casually that the central bank rate may go up from 10 to whatever, it actually has, it has serious implications on the overall economy.
Well, let's see how that pans out in the coming months. It has been 3 weeks since I beg your pardon, it has been 3 weeks since Jonathan Siano was bundled out of Uchumi for allegedly running the retailers' finances to the ground. And now the firm is taking stock of what happened and drawing up plans for the future. The firm held an investor briefing today where they explained how they will take Uchumi back to the path of success. Here's Adelaide Changole with more on this.
3 weeks ago, the board of Uchumi shocked the country by announcing that they had fired the man who reversed the beleaguered retailers' fortunes over gross negligence and misconduct. And with a heavy sense of deja vu, the newly installed team was at pains to explain how Uchumi had repeated its past mistakes again.
Nobody made a follow-up in terms of the break-even point of branches so that hard decisions could be made at that point in time.
For starters, it would seem employers and even members of the board were among the firm's primary suppliers and were fleecing the firm in the process. And in a repeat of the past, Uchumi had expanded faster than it had capacity to absorb. The rising costs ate into the company's working capital and impeded Uchumi's ability to pay suppliers.
Some of our branches do not have, are not fully stocked, and yeah, we admit those are challenges that we are having as Uchumi at the moment.
But the management says they have found a solution that will ensure Uchumi's continued success. Among this is a 500 million shilling loan from KCB that will shore up Uchumi's working capital. But the firm was cagey about the terms of the loan agreement.
It's not fair because this is a competitive environment. But KCB are very, very supportive to Uchumi.
Uchumi also says it will be offloading a 20-acre piece of land located along Thika Road, valued at 2.2 billion shillings, to further boost cash reserves. And even though the team in the management and the board is largely made up of insiders, they say they have what it takes to return Uchumi back to glory.
And now we are seeing that because we understand what happened, we are on top of the game, we put it right, so we can continue growing.
However, analysts are not so convinced with that narrative.
But again, investors want those numbers. What went wrong? Which branches are not performing? Why are you getting this debt? What are you going to do with this debt? So basically, we're just concerned about the numbers going forward. Did this briefing actually tell us anything? I'd say no.
Instead, they say that it is time the firm got a strategic partner who would pump in the finances needed to overcome the perennial cash flow issues and enable Uchumi to compete on equal footing with both present and new players in the retail segment. Adelaide Changole, KTN Business.
And now not to some really good news. Insurance companies suffered losses to the tune of 259.7 million shillings linked to fraud cases reported during the first 3 months of the year. According to the Insurance Regulatory Authority quarterly report, 26 cases of fictitious payment were reported during the January-March 2015 period. The fraud cases were reported in life assurance, insurance agents and agencies, policy holders, medical and motor business segments. Fraudulent claims by policy holders for default insurance program for sale of air tickets reached 238.9 million shillings, followed by motor fraud cases. During the period under review, insurance companies lost 18 million shillings due to fabricated payments on motor claims. Under the motor segment, companies were conned on false injury claims, forged insurance certificates, and fraudulent damage and theft claims. Well, indeed, a case there where the insurance industry needs to invest more on surveillance. Now, developers have come up with a bill that will make it easier to manage large real estate projects in the country. The bill proposes to have one set of regulations that brings together the land registry, developers and banks into the same frame, making it easier for people to own homes. As it stands, a developer with over 150 units is forced to have one title, making it hard for prospective homeowners to complete the purchase. The lengthy delays have also meant that developers have had to accrue higher interest payments for houses that took long to sell. KTN's Michael Karanja caught up with Suraya Properties CEO Muraya earlier to get his thoughts on what the proposed bill holds for the real estate sector.
if you look at the government's manifesto, it's trying to build hundreds of thousands of houses.
Yeah.
Every time there's a report about from the planning department, they say we require 200,000 every year.
Yeah.
But how do you provide 200,000 with the current regulation? It's not possible.
Yeah.
For sale. I mean, if it's for rental, it's a different issue.
Yeah.
But for sale, it's not feasible with the current laws. And so what these laws are trying to address is a way of shortening the time,
yeah,
making the process a bit simpler. Right?
Yeah.
And I want to just demonstrate to you something here.
Yeah.
To register one title, that's the amount of documentation you use.
That's for one person to go through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Using the RTA Act.
Yeah.
That's how much documentation you must use.
That looks, on rough assumption, that looks almost like 1,000 pages as well.
Yeah, so it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So what we are trying to achieve is at least that,
yeah, which
is about 20% of the same documentation, right? Because of the way that the law is structured, the way you must produce registered companies, the way you must produce 3 copies of sale agreement, 3 copies of sublease, 3 copies of mortgage. It's that whole documentation is what actually amounts to this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you can imagine even you as a lands officer, registrar,
having
to
go
even
through.
carry 5 of these, you need to be a bodybuilder.
Well, a very comprehensive interview. Of course, you can catch that also on our website. Players in the private sector are upbeat about the growth of the financial reporting standards in the country. Speaking during the launch of the 14th edition of the Financial Reporting Awards, Dr. Patrick Ngumi, the CEO of the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Kenya, ISPAC, noted that accountability and good corporate governance were gaining ground in most companies. He took the opportunity to rally more companies to take part in this year's Financial Reporting Awards, which aim to reward some of the best companies that comply with the best international financial reporting practices.
Yes, at the back, this
Well, let's now take a look at how your shilling performed against other currencies in our financial report. My name is Abi Agina. Let's meet tomorrow, same time, same place. Enjoy your evening.
Let's talk sports now. After weeks of intensive training, most athletes will be taking a break tomorrow to re-energize ahead of the National Athletics Championships that start on Thursday and go through to Saturday at the Safaricom Stadium in Kasarani. The Kenya Prison Sprints team held their last training session this morning, with most of the athletes hoping to take the team to the trials as well as attain qualification time for the World Championships.
It's barely 2 months to the World Athletics Championships in Beijing, China, and the race for the slots to represent the country is on the home stretch. The National Athletics Championships, that will act as the national trials curtain raiser, will be held starting Thursday at the Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani. Teams from the disciplined forces and provinces have been busy preparing for the national championships. The Kenya Prison Sprints team held its last training session at the Nyayo National Stadium on Tuesday morning. The sprinters will face stiff competition from the Kenya Police and Defence Forces teams, although head coach Stephen Mwaniki is confident his team has the X factor.
The team is well prepared, and we expect that this time round we'll be able to perform well. Last year we had the performance was not as good as what I expect this year. With minimal injuries reported ahead of the national championships, the prison's athletes will be keen on fast times, targeting qualification time for the World Championships as well as the All-African Games in Congo. No, we don't have major injuries, though we have here and there. They don't miss, but we think that the team is okay now.
Ajanga Chepkoech has eyes on the Beijing ticket.
Before I graduate, I would really like to run for my country, even if it's once. So that was my goal, and I hope that it comes to life this weekend.
Having relocated to the United States, where she's currently pursuing her college education, the 21-year-old has been instrumental in helping her school shine. She's keen to share some aspects of the short races with her Kenyan counterparts, and she believes the country has great potential in the short races despite the challenges athletes face.
I was really frustrated with when I arrived was the lack of facilities, but even the lack of facilities, you can still train your body without a facility or without a gym or something like that. So there's much that needs to be done, but it can be done.
The Beijing World Athletics Championships fever seems to be finally kicking in, and most of the athletes have wrapped up their final training sessions today ahead of the National Championships set to go down on Thursday to Saturday at the Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani. Lynn Washira, KTN.
And good luck to them. The Kenyan Premier League resumes this afternoon after last week's break to allow the national team to take part in the African Nations Champions qualifier. Chemelil picks up from where they left off before the break when they invite former champion Sofapaka to the Afraha Stadium in Nakuru. The Sugar Millers will be keen on revenge following the 4-1 defeat at the hands of Gor Mahia on Saturday the 27th of June. Conversely, Sofapaka are hungry for victory, since 3 points will see the 2009 champions further narrow the gap between them and Gor Mahia. Gor Mahia will be home to Thika United at the City Stadium tomorrow as AFC Leopards entertain KCB at the Nyayo Stadium. The two fixtures on Wednesday are part of the 7 lined up midweek.
KTN weather in association with More Team Do.
Mama has Mortein Doom, which makes mosquitoes go away and not come back the whole night. So you get a peaceful night's sleep all night long.
Mortein Doom. A peaceful night is a Mortein Doom night.
The Big Q in association with Fidelity Insurance.
On our Big Q tonight, we asked you whether you thought that Moses Kuria should resign over some inflammatory remarks that he made. Let's take a look at the poll result. And we've got 75% saying it's a yes for them and only 25% saying no. Thank you very much for giving us your feedback this evening. Let's take a look at some of those SMSs you sent in. From Bomet County, Kibet Festus, you say Moses Kuria should not and never resign, because what he says means unity to the Gatundu community. Well, you are one of the very few no's I came across. There's a yes here from Joroge in Nairobi. You say, Mr. Kuria is what I would term as an EDP, extremely dangerous person. Were I in position, he would be cooling his heels in jail as we speak. He even came up with an acronym for that. And there's a no here. This says, why don't you ask that when opposition talks that way? And Blasto Opio, you say, well, it's a yes for me. His integrity is questionable and he's flouted some rules in the national cohesion and integrity bylaws. Kenyans in this new dispensation can never afford to be incited anymore.
Our DNA matches our new attitude to make positive change to your lives with everything we do. Welcome to Fidelity Insurance. Insurance you can trust.
Well, thank you for sharing your opinion on our Big Q this evening and for watching KTN Prime. I'm so glad that you were able to join me. I'm Nancy Kachingira and Maresha Oiti was our sign language interpreter tonight. Do have a very good night and we'll see you tomorrow.